Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Net Capital team. Let's allow one moment for everybody to settle in. Thank you. All righty. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. Thank you so much. Welcome again. Today, I am extremely excited to welcome Scott Hoffman and the Kevin Harrington of Protein Quick onto our webinar. As always, this is being recorded and this company is actively raising capital on the Net Capital platform. So I will go ahead and add a link to this in the chat. A couple of quick housekeeping items. We do want to keep this interactive as well. I know this is a unique experience, but we do want to make sure that we welcome people in to ask their questions. So please do use that Q&A functionality built into Zoom, and that way we can get to as many of the questions as we can. I know there's also a chat feature, but it's just so much easier to track the questions through Q&A. So please do use that Q&A feature. With all that being said, before we dive into Protein Quick and all that it has to offer, Kevin, for those who are somehow unfamiliar, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay. Hey, Eric, thank you. And thanks for all the folks that are tuned in to hear about Protein Quick and the opportunity that we've created here. I'm going to try to do a quick little background, but it goes back a few years, back to the early 80s when I was a lot younger entrepreneur. Okay. So, that's almost 40 years ago. But I had just ordered cable television. I was an entrepreneur and actually was a broker of businesses and real estate, selling, manufacturing companies and pizza parlors and restaurants. And I ordered cable television and I get 30 channels. And if you remember, the early days of cable wasn't like 500 channels like we have today. It was like 30. And so ESPN and MTV and HBO. Well, I got to the last channel, channel 30, which was Discovery Channel. And there was bars on the screen and no programming. So I called the cable company and said, hey, I love this cable, 24 hours of sports and 24 hours of movies every day. Pretty cool, but there's nothing on Discovery and I'm paying you for 30 channels. And they said, oh, you tuned in during their downtime. Discovery is only an 18-hour-a-day network because it doesn't have a budget for 24 hours. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's got to be something I can put in that 6-hour block. So I went down and met with the cable guys, and make a long story short, I started filling that time and then having amazing success with it. And then I went to the national network, Discovery, and signed a multi-year contract for every single Discovery home in America for a number of years to own 6 hours a day. And then we started putting products on there. So this was the beginning, and I call it the birth, really, of the infomercial, as seen in TV space. We were doing kitchen products and fitness products and Jack LaLanne juicers, Tony Little Fitness, George Foreman, Billy Mays, you name it. And by the way, we ended up going public. We were on the New York Stock Exchange. Stock was $1 a share. And within a couple of years, it was $8, $9. In a couple of years, it was $20. And all of a sudden, here I am from a $25,000 investment into my initial company grew to $500+ million in market value in the pubco. So then I got the phone call to be on Shark Tank, and the rest is history. I had a lot of fun. I filmed 175 segments on Shark Tank, which they just keep rerunning them all around the world, and syndication, CNBC, et cetera. But I have been an entrepreneur now close, for about 40 years. And I love products, and I love health products and fitness products. And when Scott Kaufman called me and said, hey, I've got something very, very cool, because, a lot of these companies that have been out there are selling shots of energy or this or that. This is going to give you up to 20 grams of protein, boom, in one shot. So I got excited about this, and thus we are here today to talk about Protein Quick. So hope that was a quick little background, but went back 40 years, but it didn't take that long. Okay.
Well, it's hard to believe. You must be a time traveler, because those 40 years are not showing up anywhere. Well, I want to thank you. Definitely thanks for sitting in and telling us a little bit about your background and what led you to meeting with Scott. I'm going to come back to you, Kevin, in a moment. But before we do, Scott, why don't you come on in and tell us, big picture, 30,000 feet, what is Protein Quick and what is the value position?
Absolutely. Eric, thank you. To everyone watching, thanks for stopping by. Protein Quick, let me digress for 1 second, really started from a question. And a few years ago, the question was, why can't I buy a cell phone at Walmart without a credit check? Just a question. That question became a good idea, which became a company, which became TracFone Wireless, which does $8 billion a year in revenue. Again, all started from a very simple question. Fast forward to a few years ago, and we had another question, which is, why can't we just have the protein? As Kevin alluded to, when you look at most protein sources today, whether it's a shake, a bar, the protein infused water, what have you, the problem is that protein by itself tastes disgusting. And so to combat that problem, there's really two ways to go. And up to this point, just about everybody else has taken what we'll call path one. And path one is, well, let's try to remove the taste problem by surrounding the protein with fat, sugar, carbs, caffeine. And what this has resulted in, as what we like to say around here, is you're essentially putting a piece of broccoli into a hot fudge sundae. And what we mean by that is you are reducing the good of the protein by surrounding it with all the bad of the fat, sugar, and carbs. And so what we like to do is say, take the Protein Quick challenge, which is flip over your protein bar. Take a look at the ingredients on your protein shake, and you will be amazed. Yes, they do consist of protein. But as I mentioned, the problem is with all the calories, with all of the liquid involved, protein has become synonymous with meal replacement. And so what we attempted to do was strip out all the bad and leave the good. And so what we're basically, so the problem that we're solving here, like I said, eliminate the bad, leave the good. And to make it even harder on ourselves, the delivery system that we had our eyes on was that 5-hour energy bottle. And what those guys did is, just to digress for a second, you have to give those guys a lot of credit. Number one, they made that 2-ounce bottle ubiquitous. But number two, they had to convince the average person that 200 milligrams of caffeine is a good idea. In our case, we know that protein has what we like to call a high Q score. And our goal is to monetize the awareness of protein. And to do that, we want to use those 2-ounce bottles. But again, no caffeine. This is not an energy shot. This is just the protein. And so from there, this is one of the situations where it's easier said than done. And one of the reasons why you don't see a product like this on the shelf already or widely available is because it is very difficult to formulate. And so in our case, we've perfected it, and we've gotten it to the point where we have a strong business case in that protein is one of the very few products that if you are breathing on this planet, you need. You need it every day. You need it multiple times a day. And so from our standpoint, that creates a tremendous opportunity to alter the product to hit different markets, different price points, and different distribution sources. And so rather than, and when you take a step back and say, well, who has the capability to quickly deliver the protein, the distribution sources to maximize the availability of this product, who better than a shark? And so obviously, that's where Kevin comes in. And we think we're very well positioned to move very quickly to deliver a product that meets the needs of just about the entire population.
And may I say, of the sharks in terms of distribution, I think obviously the absolute right for that job. And I do want to go into distribution and the kind of the traction you already have with that in a moment. But before I do, Scott and Kevin, you are part of the team, a very significant part of the team, but there's a couple more members. Can you tell us a little bit about Jerry David and what he brings to the Protein Quick team.
So let me speak to the team and all the things that we're assembling. So one thing that I left out, which is probably a very powerful part of my background, 8 years ago, I joined the board of this company called Celsius. And so the bottom line is, at that time, this was a startup. The company was a little pink sheet company. The stock, when I had the very first conversation, it was trading at 10 cents a share, pink sheet, non-reporting, very small volume, 10,000 shares a day. So, I mean, 10,000 shares at 10 cents is $1,000 a day in volume. And the company was barely selling $1 million worth of product at the time. Well, fast forward, and there's been a lot of things that have happened in the meantime. This company is now in the $65 plus range from 10 cents, which is pretty amazing. $5 billion plus market cap. And so along the way, made a lot of connections, relationships, and across the board. So yeah, Jerry David had been the former CEO of Celsius, and Jerry was very instrumental in building it. I was on the board of Celsius. Jerry actually ran the company, but so the bottom line is that we have the different folks across the board that are involved with our distribution that come from relationships that we've established, ultimately coming out of this beverage side of the business. Jerry is no longer with Celsius, and contractually as a member of Celsius still, I can't bring people from Celsius into a venture, but Jerry had left already. So we're in those efforts now with Jerry. But the bottom line is, it's, Celsius, when it first started, we started regionally, and then we started doing fitness influencers and Instagram influencers and getting the word out, right? So there's different things we used. In fact, the real history breaking moment for Celsius came when COVID hit, and these direct to the consumer Instagrammers were out helping keep the brand going because stores were closed. If you wanted to buy Celsius and your store is closed, you can't get it. Well, wait a minute, you can on Amazon. So Celsius went from number 9 on Amazon to number 2, ahead of who? Red Bull. Okay, Monster number 1, Celsius number 2, Red Bull number 3. So I think at the end of the day, there's some experience on our side that understands beverage, understands distribution, and understands getting the right people involved.
And that's a perfect segue into the kind of the business model and distributions. We talked about those 2-ounce shots or cans or bottles, whatever you want to call those. Can you talk about what are the different formulations? Where do you imagine taking these products? I imagine online is a big piece of it. Maybe Scott, that's an opportunity for you to come back in.
Oh, absolutely. And in short, the product was formulated to maximize distribution. And one thing that I want to make clear from the onset is this is not a bodybuilding product. I know that protein has become synonymous, protein supplements have become synonymous with weightlifting and working out. There's a whole range of products for that group. We're talking about the rest of the population that's just trying to be a little healthier every day. And in that regard, what we're going to do on the distribution side is a couple of things. First of all, we want to hit different price points. The way to do that is to adjust the protein content. And so what we're focused on is what we're calling a 10-gram option, which will be what we're calling our dollar store option, which again is 10 grams of protein with 2 ounces of liquid, 0 fat, 0 sugar, 0 carbs. The plan then is to bump up to 15 or 20 gram to sell online, and even as far as 20 gram with maybe collagen added, which will allow us to capitalize on another trend. The other thing that we should mention is, unlike a lot of mass consumer products, is we are not solely dependent on the consumer channel. the medical side of things is huge for us. You have patient groups, whether it's Crohn's, colitis, bariatrics, chemotherapy, all of these patient groups need protein. They need it for recovery. They need it, as part of their wellness plan. And in our research, we were shocked to find that most of these patients today are offered things like Boost, Ensure, Muscle Milk, Premier Protein. These protein sources that are very high on fat, sugar, carbs. In fact, we do a head-to-head comparison on our offering page against some of these other sources. And so we feel the medical market is huge. You're taking someone, a chemotherapy patient, for instance, who can't tolerate a lot of calories. It's hard to get anything down. Well, 2 ounces of liquid is fairly easy when you compare it to, say, a Muscle Milk, which, yes, you can get 25 grams of protein in 11 ounces. But when you do the math, after drinking 2 ounces of Muscle Milk, you've gotten 5 grams of protein. And so, it's the same thing with those other groups. Since the product does not require any mixing or refrigeration, this opens up the military, humanitarian, disaster recovery. So many ways to go with this product. Again, that we can adjust from a strict business model standpoint. As I mentioned, we can adapt the protein content to hit different price points. We can offer flavor exclusives to build up the brick and mortar. We can do all kinds of influencer and micro-influencer targeting to gain traction on social media online, and then offline in some of the channels that, again, a pure consumer product really doesn't have a lot of application with, a la the medical side. We have a huge opportunity there. And so we feel really good that our competitive advantage here is not only having a huge market, but the ability to tailor our offering to a specific market segment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think in that same vein, you started off talking about one of the kind of like critical flaws to the protein is the taste. And so, are there different varieties to account for the taste? Are you sweetening in different capacities? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very good point. Very good point, Eric. Our base formulation centered on whey protein. And obviously that's the market leader. And that's obviously would attract the most amount of people. The beauty of our formulation, though, is it allows us to alter it, again, to bring in things like plant protein, pea protein. We do use a sweetener, and we have the ability to get into things like stevia, monk fruit, allulose, things that allow us to offer what we, for shorthand, a vegan option. So we do have whey, again, that's more the market leader. We do have the ability to provide what we're calling a vegan option. And as we talked about adding things like collagen, there's a lot of different ways that we can go. But again, our competitive advantage is we've solved the issue of delivering the protein in 2 ounces without any of the fat, sugar, or carbs that, again, I'll refer you back to our offer page, which just about every other protein source has gone the way of, meaning let's obviate the taste by, again, trying to, offer a product that is things other than just the protein.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Kevin, it looked like you wanted to add to that.
No, I'm maybe just moving my head a little bit. No, go ahead. Keep going, Eric. Okay.
Okay. I saw you lean forward. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, that's
no. No, that's great. I think the versatility of the formulation is critically important. And Kevin, what you've been able to do with Celsius, nothing short of of special and miraculous, arguably. I think some of the overcoming challenges that you had to do there just don't add up here. Like Scott mentioned, the ability to be able to say that this protein is essential. It's a required piece. And Scott, you mentioned the humanitarian and the medical pieces. Can we talk a little bit more about distribution through those channels? I know there's definitely the everyday person, the business person, the traveler that could use this product. But if you talk about we're in a kind of a world where you could support these humanitarian efforts. I'd love to dig a little deeper.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good example. We're in, down here in Florida, we're in hurricane season. FEMA, obviously in a situation where There's no electricity. Maybe it's hard to deliver, to receive deliveries. This is a product, again, that is ready to drink. You literally twist off the top, 2 gulps later, you have 20 grams of protein. Again, no mixing, no refrigeration. We see big opportunities in, say, after school programs in disadvantaged areas, where we can get into a situation where it's after school. We have disadvantaged kids who are now getting ready for after school activities, where maybe nutrition is an issue. And here's a bottle that could be in their backpack, and within 2 minutes, they could be ready to go to participate in their activity. Military, there's APHIS, which serves the military bases around the world. And this would be fantastic, again, if you are in a desert. Obviously, where we don't have a blender, we don't have the ability to quickly have access to protein. This is, again, something very lightweight, ready to drink, and could solve the problem, especially in an area that is, where weather's an issue, high heat, et cetera. So, I think the point that I want to stress is the product has been formulated, again, for ease of use, no matter where you are and no matter who you are. And, whether you are walking out of the gym, but, from the time you leave the gym to the time that you sit in your car, you could have already ingested 20 grams of protein. Again, we mentioned, humanitarian issues, we've, FEMA, military. These are all, again, non-consumer markets that we have a solution for that really doesn't exist today.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of bringing it home on that medical piece for people who are preparing for surgery or recovering from surgery, that quick gulp access to protein, very, very interesting application there as well. I'd love to, I see the questions coming in. Thank you so much for everybody engaging with the Q&A. I'm going to get to those in just a moment. But before we do that, Kevin, I know you're a big market guy. I know you love products that basically everybody can use. And I think that's one of the things that really attracts you to this. I'm not sure if you know the exact details around the market size here, but can you talk a little bit about why this big broad market is exciting to you? And then maybe Scott could come in with some of the specifics.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, there's a daily requirement, that the government says you should consume so much protein every single day, right? And I mean, I'm personally, I'm as the older I've gotten, the more I pay attention to making sure I get the right elements into my body. And so I've been a huge proponent of protein over the years. And as Scott has mentioned, I mean, it's funny. I've been involved with guys like Tony Little Fitness. We did his first infomercial in 1989, and billions of dollars later, and many, many more projects. And I just had dinner with Tony Little over the weekend, and we're talking about different things and health and what he's doing. I mean, a guy like Tony Little, he goes on HSN and he's able to take bison and make it a huge hit on a shopping channel because it's an alternative to red meat, lower in calories, tastes good, et cetera, et cetera. So here, the world, I mean, people are subscribing, they're doing $10 million a year in bison purchases on a shopping channel, okay? Because it's healthier, it's better for you, et cetera. This is the way the world has moved. And protein is very important for this. 20 grams in the one shot. The other version that'll have 10 is a lower priced market entry into the dollar type store distribution. But and as Scott said, you look at I saw the other day Robert Irvine's protein bar, right? And I looked at it. It was 300 and something calories. Okay, and yeah, it's got 20, 30 grams of protein, but it's like a hot fudge sundae. Okay, so I mean it's pretty crazy that people that want to consume protein think that they're getting good protein when they're consuming these kinds of things. So I just believe that as we get this product out, we get, again, great brand ambassadors, Instagrammers, influencers, micro influencers, et cetera. People consuming it, loving it, having, good success with it. I mean, the other side of protein, if you want to use it for weight management, you can also, because a protein, if you're replacing other things and using a 20-gram shot of Protein Quick, so it's a hell of a lot better for you than a 300 calorie shot of a candy bar kind of thing. So yeah, I think that the time is right, and we've people coming out of COVID now are really looking for good direction in these areas, and I think that's is good timing for all of us. So thank you.
Yeah, the combination of the conscious consumer, the thoughtful kind of like the ad hoc nutritionist taking care of themselves, as well as all of us trying to go back into the public, right? People can actually see the lower half of me now, which makes me rethink that 300 calorie bar a little bit more. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And then Scott, how big is the global protein supplements market? I mean, that's multiple billions of dollars expected to grow, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And in all fairness, it's hard to peg the exact amount because protein is embedded in so many other products. When you just look, we make reference to the market size of just the protein supplement market, but we think there's an opportunity to go even above and beyond that, because this is not, we don't consider this to be meal replacement. And a perfect example of that is, let's say it's 2:00 in the afternoon and you're standing in front of that vending machine. It's after lunch, things have worn off, and you're looking at that bag of chips. We're not saying don't grab that bag of chips. We know you're going to take those chips. The problem with those chips is there's nothing in it to keep you feeling satiated. And an hour later, once the sugar high wears off, well, guess what? You're going to be hungry again. And I'll tell you, the number one response that we get from the average person, again, this is not the bodybuilders, this is just the average person, is, you know what? I made it to dinner. I took one after lunch, I made it to dinner. So you take the bag of chips, but you pair it with the protein. You've now balanced your meal. And again, for the average body, what protein is doing is it's basically sending a signal to your brain saying, I'm satiated. And when you're feeling full, you're obviously not going to eat as much. Now you're getting into calorie reduction. The beauty of this product is we're not making any claims beyond what has already been scientifically proven about protein. So this is not marketed as a weight loss product. It's marketed as a protein supplement. And again, by taking the product consistently, you will get the benefit of the protein.
No, that's perfect. And we're about the halfway mark, and I know we actually have about 15 minutes more before we have the hard stop with Kevin, but I do want to take this time to remind everybody listening. First of all, thank everybody for coming, and thank you for your questions. We're going to start transitioning to your questions now, but I do want to remind everybody that they can go directly to netcapital.com and search Protein Quick, or go to netcapital.com/companies/Protein Quick, where you can learn a little bit more. There's the invest button right there, and for as little as $99, you can invest in this company and grow. And I know Kevin was super excited about that prospect. He's always been about everyday people being able to access this kind of new asset class. And I know we really had a good time thinking about this whole new world, about people being able to join alongside you as a shark, Kevin. How cool is that? How you feel?
Well, it's funny because when we were filming Shark Tank, I'll never forget. I'd been on The View, and Whoopi Goldberg was on, and Whoopi, she grabbed me after the show and she said, Kevin, you got to come in my room, and I went in, and it's got sneakers all over the place. And she's like, that deal the other night that you passed on? She said, why did you pass on that? That looked like a great opportunity. I'm like, hey, Whoopi, let's partner, okay? You want to invest, okay? Because everybody will tell you what you should do, right? But sometimes people want to be involved. And so Whoopi's like, hey, I got you. I see what you're saying, because we would shoot 10 segments in a day. You can't invest in every single one of them, right? But, I said to myself, people watching the show actually do want to invest. And they're thinking, why didn't you? I would invest, right? And so here's a chance. I mean, look, not everything is going to be a home run, but we feel that you got the right people, the right team, the right product, you got a great chance. And that's why, we feel that this is in on the ground floor. I mean, just like when Celsius was just getting started, it wasn't in 7-Eleven and Publix and Kroger's, but when we got Gold's Gym and Vitamin Shops and some of these first places it was really doing very, very well, then we opened the door for other distribution. So I think this is, the plan that we see here is get some success. You can start regionally, and then as you go, just start rolling that footprint out over the course of time. So and this is part of the reason why obviously we need some capital to raise to bring things more to the, to put marketing budgets and inventory budgets and things like that together. But it gives folks that are sitting there right now an opportunity to get in on the ground floor.
Well, I think it's super cool of you to let people, everyday people that haven't had the success that you had, in on an opportunity to join you on a deal. So it's been a great pleasure working with you, getting it going. And I look forward to those who do take you up on that opportunity to join you as a Protein Quick. That being said, let's start getting to some of these questions. There's so many good ones, so I'm going to try to consolidate them, and we're going to try to make sure that we have as much time for Kevin to add in on anything that he'd like to. So let's start off with this, and we're going to combine a couple. And this might be more of a question for you, Scott, is the protein in the formula going to be readily available for the conversion by the body, i.e. is it pre-digested? Not familiar with that concept. Curious if you have an idea about that.
I'm sorry, you said pre-digested?
That's what I'm seeing here. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, one of the reasons why we initially started with whey protein is that it is a complete protein. It has a complete amino acid profile, which means you're not having to add any amino acid deficiencies. All that said, yes, it's very easily digested and very quickly digested.
Perfect. And you talked about adding collagen and following trends as needed. And so somebody asked, do you have any idea about adding CBD or hemp to capitalize on those waves as well?
Oh, that is a great question. Great question. Yeah, right now, the product does include distilled water. And we've started playing around with removing the distilled water and replacing it with CBD water. And so, and again, with the idea that in 2 ounces of liquid, you would not only get the benefits of CBD, you would also get your protein. So that is one of the products that we have actively in development.
Love that. Super interesting. And then somebody following along the health conversation, I know we talked about Crohn's and colitis. Can this be used by diabetics as a way to help balance a not so good meal that was a bit more carb or fat heavy to help maintain blood sugar stability?
Oh, that's a very good question. Very good question. Yeah, one of the things that we were astounded by is on the medical side, and I'll use bariatrics as a quick example. When obviously for a bariatric patient to make the decision to essentially have a big chunk of your stomach removed, that's a major decision. Obviously, your recovery is very important because without proper recovery, you could end up right back where you started. And the simple question we asked is, to whether it's surgeons to patients, what are you using now? What are you using post-surgery as your protein supplement? And just about everybody was using something that is listed on our offering page. And again, I'm not trying to denigrate any of these products, whether it's Muscle Milk, Boost, Ensure. Again, you're talking to someone who voluntarily made their stomach the size of their fist, and one of the reasons why they had to do that is they were consuming way too much fat, sugar, and carbs. Yet in recovery, in order for them to access protein, they're being handed products that are loaded with fat, sugar, and carbs. It was astounding to us. And same thing with Crohn's colitis. These patient groups have trouble digesting. And again, to hand them products which are loaded with ingredients that could harm the stomach, it just doesn't make any sense. And so again, we just think there's a huge opportunity, on the medical side to solve a lot of problems that different patient groups have.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that resonated with me right off the bat was that kind of medical application, the humanitarian application. I drink my breakfast every morning, every weekday morning, because it's just more efficient and effective for me. But I really love those kind of those just disparate groups that just need a little bit of that support. So
Yeah.
very, very exciting, very exciting. Continuing along here, and I'm just rattling them off. So I want to get to as many of these as possible before we have to let Kevin go. But since there will be different options of Protein Quick, will there be an option for us to custom order what we want? And I think they're talking about matching proteins, deciding on what the sweeteners are. Any feedback to that, Scott?
Yeah, I think, one of the fantastic things about crowdsourcing, especially for a product like this, is every potential investor is also a potential customer. And so what we're hoping for is to build a community of feedback, where if we have our investors using the product and we're getting suggestions like this, that we can then bounce back to our investor/customer community and see, is there a market for a specific combination? The sky is really the limit. And that's one of the reasons why we're so enthusiastic about working with Net Capital in the crowdsource community.
Love that. Absolutely, absolutely. And then I know we talked about the revenue model, but I think we glanced over the target price. So what is the target MSRP for this on the shelf of a convenience store? And I know it depends a little bit on what the ingredients are and what store it is, but maybe you can go into the range.
Oh, absolutely. I think, first, one thing to mention, especially on the direct to consumer, online channel. I mean, the beauty of this product is it is set up perfectly for a recurring revenue model. And as anyone who knows anything about online marketing is, that return, the ability to amortize your customer acquisition costs over reorders is huge. And so we think in a situation like this, one of the main uses of funds from this raise is going to be customer acquisition. And we think by spending our acquisition dollars once and the average person then reordering, we're going to be able to spread those dollars out a long way. And so, to kind of step back into your question, obviously the dollar store channel, we're looking at a 10 gram, 99-cent solution. Online, by obviously increasing the protein content, like we mentioned, to 15, 20 grams, we're going to be in that $2 to $3 range. Same thing with the 20. Again, it really depends on what the distribution source is. We've talked about maybe doing something QVC, or again, where we add the collagen, we're adding something, that will appeal to the ladies, obviously, that are geared more towards QVC. Certainly in the gyms, there's a way to do maybe whether it's private labeling or under our own label, where we can have, an Orange Theory, specific flavor. We can have a Gold's Gym specific flavor. Again, we really wanted to create a situation here where we can adapt the product by price point, flavor, and gram content to really satisfy the needs of really any type of market.
And I love a good coffee shop, but the idea of being able to stop by a dollar store and grab 20 grams of protein and a quick maybe Celsius on the way out for less than the 1,000 calories that I get from my ice cream shop masquerading as a coffee shop, that seems pretty exciting opportunity. Somebody said, what about the military market? I know we've mentioned the military. Maybe we could circle back to that a little bit. Where do you view that application?
I'll address that. So I live in Tampa, and I've been out to MacDill Air Force Base quite a few times. Not just to play golf. I do like playing golf there with one of the generals. Chip Deal was a general for many years there, and a buddy of mine. And so Chip's is an advisor to my company and all of our products. And so when the time is right, I've been down to Dallas with Chip, and where they have it's called AFES, where it's a $20 billion division of the U.S. government, the military, that buys for the military consumption. And so this is all part of the plan. This is going to be a perfect product for the military, because this is a quick pick me up type of product, and good quality protein, et cetera. But yeah, so we're going to be making these presentations as we come out of this net capital raise and really positioned very nicely to be across all around the world in the military is our goal.
Love that. Love that. Somebody did ask, is the company looking for any distribution channels, any compensation? I think I'm going to leave that there. If anybody wants to get in touch with the panelists as a potential support, we could, Net Capital's investor relations team can facilitate that. So I'm going to leave that there for the moment. And
Eric, we're always interested in hearing from good people that have some connections. We've got a lot of great connections, but sometimes, I know in distribution, for example, over the years, when we take products to retail, there's one great guy that knows the Target people and another one that knows the Walmart people and another, so we don't just give somebody rights to go all over the country or whatever. It's great to have people with the good relationships, and so we're open to listening to opportunities.
Great. So Anonymous, go ahead and reach out to our team, and we'll see if we can, if there's something to be done, that would be great. Appreciate that offer. Continuing right along here, I know you mentioned that this is not traditionally marketed towards the bodybuilder. This is the everyday person and the military, the health, the hospitality, et cetera. But will there be more fitness geared versions eventually with the addition of pre-alkaline or creatine or nitrous oxide for those wanting to use this for specific muscle gain, injury, recovery, et cetera?
Yeah, I think that, the answer to that is not now. And the reason why I say that is, without getting into the science behind the formulation, there are reasons why, we focused on, the non-bodybuilder segment. We just feel that that's a segment, that is very well served now. There's a lot of niches in that market. And again, we're focused more on general consumer, where we can solve a lot of problems for a lot of people based on the formulation we have now.
Perfect. And on that note, I want to be respectful of your time, Kevin. I know you have a hard stop at this 45. I think this would be a good opportunity to thank you so much for your time and let you go on to your next meeting. Thank you so much for joining us, Kevin Harrington.
I appreciate it, Eric. Great job. I love doing these interviews to give people a chance to chime in. By the way, we had some really, really good questions here, which is invigorating for me to know that folks are really focused on what we're doing and what we're offering here. So thanks for folks that attended today, and we're open to communicating with any opportunities out there. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Kevin.
See you guys.
Stay safe. I'm going to continue along with a couple more questions. I hope everybody enjoyed that time with Kevin. I do believe we might be doing this again, so do keep an eye out on the email thread through netcapital.com. If you got this from a friend and you're not subscribed to our newsletter, please do go to netcapital.com and subscribe. That's where you can make sure you can be the first to know about really exciting opportunities like these. Last couple of questions, then we'll start to wrap up here. What is the time frame to get this out to market?
Our approach is we'd rather be right than fast. And so one of the reasons why we went the crowdsource route is we're also building our potential customer network, what we like to call it. And we really believe, again, that this is not a crowdsource investment where you'll put some money into it and you'll never actually touch or feel the product again. This is a product, this is an investment that you could use literally every day. And the more you use it, it's essentially free advertising for your investment. And so our plan is to go out when we're ready, when we have the capital stock. We obviously, through Kevin, have all the distribution we could possibly handle. We just know that right now we have a huge first mover advantage because, again, getting back to that 5-hour example, one of the reasons why they are so market dominant is they were first. They locked up the distribution. And that is our goal, is to go out, to do it right, to attack the market in a way that if the next guy has to solve the riddle of the formula, which is going to be very hard by itself, but then number two, try to edge us out on distribution. So again, trying to be right rather than fast is the plan here. But obviously we want to do this as quickly as feasible.
Yep. And I know your nutritional scientists work very hard to formulate this. That's a big piece of your defensibility. We might have some time to go into defensibility after a couple more questions, but I do know that's an important piece. So I wanted to allude to that. There were a couple of questions that are kind of specific to the offering that I'm going to direct people's attention to the offering page for. So what is the key money valuation for the raise? You can go directly to netcapital.com/company/ProteinQuick, and you can see the valuation right there. I'd love to direct you there. And then also somebody asked, can you explain how the $99 investment, which is 99 shares, if the company goes public, do these shares increase, et cetera? I would direct you to your securities counsel for any legal or financial or tax advice. There's also more information, again, on the offering page that might be able to answer some of those questions. And we do have a FAQ section on the netcapital.com platform. So please do check out those resources. I'd love to direct you there. As we continue along here, this actually does feel like a perfect opportunity to talk about competitive landscape. And I know you alluded to some of the other players in the space, and I know you don't want to denigrate any of the other players, and I love that. But you talked about volume, efficiency, ability to access. But if I could shift really over to just purely from a health standpoint, what does it look like when you avoid those carbs, those sugars, those fats? What does that look like from the ability to consume daily, the ability to increase that market opportunity from a competitive standpoint?
No, absolutely. And I think, one thing I should mention as we get into some of the health benefits is obviously for any unique case, you should always consult, with your doctor before you try any product. So I'm talking in generalities here. I'm not talking to, any specific, patient type. So I should get that out. But by removing, in our case, by removing the fat, by removing the calories, the sugar, these, I guess the easiest way to explain it, these get in the way of the protein absorption. And so basically by making it easier for the body to quickly access the protein and digest, you're getting the fuller benefit of the protein quicker. And it's also, we're getting out of this meal replacement, which is what protein supplements have become. And Kevin made that point. I think it was the Robert Irvine protein bar, where, and again, not to denigrate any one particular product, but don't take our word for it. Look at it yourself. Whatever bar that you're using right now, flip it over and take a look at those calories, and you will be surprised. And even beyond the calories, you take a look at what is included in some of these products, and the issue has become that protein has again, it's such a high Q score, has such a good reputation. That's why the protein content is highlighted on the front of a box of just about anything that you pick up. The things that are not on the front of the box about anything you pick up is the fat, sugar, and caloric content. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is, again, of the approach that I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, which is the vast majority of protein providers have taken the path of what can we do to make it taste good, as opposed to what can we do to just deliver the protein.
No, I think that's great. I know we joked around about, I'm the type of person that just gets a scoop of pea protein in with water, and that'll kind of get me through to between lunch and dinner, like you said. But not everybody feels that way. And you found that, I think what you've been able to do is strike the balance between just the protein and, for everyday people who need a little bit of something to get through it. So that's really exciting. Last couple of pieces here. I want to talk about the defensibility and the time that your team has put in with those nutritional scientists and any intellectual property around your product. And then lastly, I'd love to open it up is, kind of a closing remarks. Why is now the perfect time to join the Protein Quick family through Net Capital and grow with yourself and Kevin Harrington? So starting back to the defensibility, what was the process of formulating like? Why do you feel like you have a real competitive edge over potential new entrants?
All very good questions. The thing that we like to point to internally is, and I might have mentioned it before, if this was easy, you would see it on the shelf. There's a reason why a product like this doesn't exist in any coherent national manner today. It is very difficult to formulate, and it took a while to solve. And obviously, a guy like Kevin Harrington, who you can imagine has his choice, to say the least, of where he will put his resources, and more importantly, where he will put his name. This is his first crowdsource opportunity for a reason. And it's funny. I'm reminded when we first sat down with him, and we put the bottle on the table, and he leaned back in his chair and he said, "Okay, wait a second, stop, stop, stop." We hadn't really even said anything yet. He said, "I'm that guy. I get up in the morning, I get the blender, I get the bananas, I get the ice, I get the protein powder. Are you telling me that if I just drink that, I don't have to do any of the rest of that?" That pretty much sums it up. That's exactly right. And he got it right away. And obviously, with the distribution that he brings, he's one of the best marketers, on the planet. And we're handing him a product again that everybody needs. I don't think I can stress that enough. From a pure, business case standpoint, this isn't a crowdsource situation where it's some cool technology investment that looks good on paper, has a real slick video that you're never actually going to use. This is an investment, if you choose to join with us, that not only are you going to get a team, full of people who have done it before. Obviously, Kevin speaks for itself. As I mentioned early on, I've lived through a good idea that became literally a multi-billion-dollar company. We have the team that has done this and can do it again. And this is a situation where, as an early investor, you're going to be integral to the success of the company, and that by using it every day, inevitably people are going to ask you, "What is that?" And in fact, I can tell you from personal experience, there's nothing better answering that question, which is, "Oh, here's the product. I love it. Here's how it can help you." And in fact, the thing that sells this product most of all are these two words: try it. I can't tell you the number of times where, we've talked about it, people are nodding their heads. It's not until they take a bottle and 2 gulps later, they've had, 15 or 20 grams of protein and can't believe it.
Absolutely. And that felt like a lot of kind of closing remarks of why now's the perfect time to join as well. But, we do have a couple more minutes as we're concluding here. Is there anything that you want to add to the end of this webinar to share, why people should join in? I know we didn't actually discuss that, all of the participants here are going to be entered for a chance to spend 10 minutes on the line with Kevin. And there's going to be more opportunities to engage directly with Kevin Harrington one-on-one virtually. And so that's some of the kind of the added benefits. But if you want to go into, last couple of quick closing remarks, why is now the perfect time to go to netcapital.com and invest in protein?
Oh, absolutely. The first thing I would do, as I've said a couple times, is you don't have to take our word for it. On our offering page, we didn't do head-to-head comparisons against products you never heard of. We did head-to-head comparisons against the top sellers in the market today. Whether it's a protein bar, whether it is a protein drink, you will recognize every product on our offering page. We're not shying away from the opportunity that this is. And really, it speaks for itself that if you're looking for an opportunity, again, in a market that literally, if you are breathing on this planet, you need this product, then this is it. I challenge you to find another offering on the Net Capital site that can make that statement. You're getting in at the ground floor. You're getting in with a team led by Kevin that has done this before with multiple successful exits. And I think it's fantastic. And as Kevin said in the video, his biggest successes have been in situations where nobody on this call would have been able to participate this early. And it's fantastic. We fully support it. I really hope that you give our offering strong consideration. Please review our offering page. We put a lot into anticipating and answering as many questions as possible. I urge you, if there's a question that you have that wasn't answered on this Zoom, please use the discussion format in the offering to ask direct questions, and we'll get back to you promptly.
Oh, I love that, Scott. Well, I'd like to thank all of the participants for joining us and listening in. I want to thank our panelists, Scott Kaufman, who is running Protein Quick, and Kevin Harrington, who hopped off about 15 minutes ago, for coming on and answering your questions. As always, this has been recorded, and I added a link to Net Capital's YouTube channel that'll be uploaded shortly. So if you missed anything, or if you want to share this with somebody who you think might be interested in learning more and potentially investing, please do share that video generously. And we're going to continue to do fun events around this. So if you learned about this not through the newsletter, please do go to netcapital.com and join our newsletter so that you can be the first to know about future events like this. So with all that being said, thank you so much for all of your time. Scott, always a pleasure hanging out with you. Thanks for telling us about Protein Quick.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone for joining us. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.